Welcome, listeners. It is so good to be with you today. I'm excited for another episode as always. This is episode 91. Am I correct on that, Ed?
Correct, yeah.
Episode 91, and we're working our way toward that 100th episode mark, which we are going to celebrate.
Yes, we are.
And
with cake.
With donuts.
And donuts.
And giveaways. You can be sure of that. Speaking of giveaways, let's give a big shout to our first sponsor of this podcast, which is Function Health. And I actually did the Function Health blood test. Was it last month?
Yep.
The cool thing about this company is they have over 100 biomarkers that they test, and you have to take 2 tests. So I did 1 test, and then 8 or 9 days later, I did the second test. And then they have this incredible online platform where it explains all of your strengths and weaknesses, the areas that you need to improve, the areas that are lacking, and the areas that are healthy. And then they tell you the different foods that you can eat to improve your markers. And then they tell you what you should not be eating to improve your markers. I have relied on blood tests pretty much my entire running career. They've been very helpful for me. There's always something I have to work on. And so I'm very excited that we have this amazing company as one of our sponsors for, I think, the entire year. Is that right? 6 months, maybe?
I think so.
Yeah. Very grateful for Function Health coming in to support the podcast, but I'm very grateful that just for the opportunity to really do a deep dive into my biomarkers and get to know my body a little bit better so I can perform better. This year's goals, I can only achieve my goals this year if I pay attention to the details. And the details in training for me are always in nutrition. It's always the hydration, especially as I am now looking toward Badwater 135, my friends. This will be my 4th attempt. And I always start with a base, and that's looking at my body and looking at that starting point. So yeah. Anything else you want to say about Function Health, Ed?
I need to do that.
You do.
I do need to do
You actually do. I think that if you can get in there and get some blood drawn. That's the only part that I don't like about it, though, is the blood draw.
Yeah.
I hate needles. Yeah, but I'll tell you what, you guys, Function Health, you can skip the Function Health wait list at functionhealth.com/Sally McRae and check it out for yourself. You will not be disappointed. It's $499 per year. So they basically break that down to $1.37 a day. But the lab tests that they run across your entire body, I think if you were to break that down into individual tests or tests you go in your doctor for, it would amount to about $10,000. So this is a great way to invest into your health. I've already we just got back from a trip to Flagstaff. We went and visited Mackenzie over the Valentine's Day weekend. We brought Isaiah with us too, but Mackenzie was put on crutches for a week for a stress reaction. And this is one of the things that I told her. I said, when you get back home, we are getting a blood test and making sure that all your markers look good.
Yep.
So I know it's not uncommon, especially these kids that are training at such a high and intense level, and for her also being at altitude. So thankfully she's back to training. It was only a week that she had to be off, but yeah, this is a part of her journey too. So Eddie, you're next.
I'm next.
I would
love to do it. I need to get in there and see what's going on in my insides.
Yeah.
And how I could become better on the inside.
Yeah.
So yeah. Speaking of Flagstaff, I have a brand new mug in front of me that I'm sipping on my pour over coffee, and it says NAU. 1899. So I'm pretty excited to. Whenever I try to go to NAU, I try to get some swag.
Pretty much every single time
I try to.
You have gone to
get
NAU,
some
you've gone to the bookstore.
Swag, yeah. I like to represent.
Well, you did have another mug, and then it was destroyed in the dishwasher. So then we were like, that was not a good mug.
I got a different one. So I'm trying to represent.
Yeah.
Proud NAU dad over here.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Eddie, what do you think of Valentine's Day?
What do I think of it?
Yeah, it was a little different for us this year. It was the first time ever since I've known you, we've spent Valentine's Day apart.
Yeah. It's another day to just express my love to you.
Yeah.
And
every day is Valentine's Day for you.
Shower you with gifts.
Right?
Yeah. It's just it's another day over here, huh?
Yeah.
It's another day at the McCrae household. It was fun, though, this weekend to hang out as a family and kind of get out of routine, just spend some time with Mackenzie in Flagstaff, Valentine's weekend. And we had some fun. We had good times. We went bowling. And you are quite the bowler, Sal. You are quite the bowler. Good form. Really good form. So...
were there any strikes in there?
By
your wife?
There are a few strikes. Yes. Like I said, you're quite the bowler. I'm impressed.
Quite a few strikes and quite a few spares.
Yes.
But was always second place to you, Ed.
Well, we can't all be winners, Sal.
And we all don't have a background of growing up playing on a bowling team.
No.
So.
Well, you should have. You should have made better choices when you were younger.
Oh, really?
You could have been on a team like
You want
myself.
to open up that can of worms right now? No, you actually taught me how to bowl. That's the only reason why I think I'm good at it is because you literally taught me. I remember when we were dating,
Yeah.
You taught me how to bowl. I don't think I ever went bowling in my life until I went with you. I'm trying to think if I ever went as a little kid with my. I mean, we had 7 people in my family. So
Yeah, that'd be an expensive outing. If
everything,
you guys all went as a family.
everything was. Yeah, so we didn't go out and do stuff. Very often. I think what was very exciting for us was, do you remember when Little Caesars, they used to serve their 2 pizzas on that one long piece of cardboard,
Yep.
and it was wrapped in white paper.
Yep.
And their tagline was pizza, pizza.
Yep.
And it's, you get those 2 pizzas. That was a huge treat in our home. If there was sometimes either on a Saturday or Sunday, we would get to have Little Caesars pizza.
Little Caesars, yeah.
Yeah. So that's what we did. But man, it's funny how the littlest things are just like the best memories. Because I think we got to have root beer too.
Oh, root beer
and pizza?
Jeez.
Oh my gosh.
You guys got spoiled.
We got spoiled.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you taught me how to bowl. And we actually went a lot when we were dating. We went bowling and miniature golfing quite a bit.
Yeah, we did.
And your parents had a tandem beach cruiser. I remember riding on that a lot. I remember riding from your parents' house to Seal Beach, literally 100 yards from where we are right now.
Yep.
Which is so funny to think. But I love, and rollerblading. You and I did so many.
That's right.
I've told the kids that too. When you date someone, always look for whether or not they're willing to go and be active with you. Because I think that's so important.
Yeah.
It's when you're young, you don't think about how important it is because you're just naturally more active when you're younger. I mean, I know this generation is probably the more sedentary ever, but still, they are still more active than when you have kids in a 9-to-5 job and an office chair and, taking care of house. I mean, it's very easy to be really focused on all the responsibilities you have. And when you're a kid, it's like, yeah, you can go ride your bike and go down to the beach and go shop. You kind of are just moving around. But I've told both the kids that it's so fun when you can date someone that likes to have fun with you, likes to go and do stuff, even if they're not good at it.
Yeah.
And I'd say that most of the activities we did together, I was not good at any of them. But you taught me how to golf. You taught me how to bowl.
Yeah.
You tried teaching me how to play guitar.
Yeah.
You've taught me how to do a lot of things.
That's true. You're right.
It's really sweet.
I forgot. We haven't bowled in a very long time. And when you went up to bowl, it was your turn. I forgot.
We'll put up some videos right now. Videos are actually popping up right now. We took a lot of videos.
I forgot how like your form was like. It looked really good. Like you
That
have
back
bowled.
leg.
Yeah, like you bowled a ton.
Eddie taught me how to do
I
that bat
forgot.
leg. That back leg comes right back,
Yeah.
sweeps back.
Yeah, it was impressive.
Yeah, you
Looked
taught me how to do
good.
that.
All right, looks
But
good.
Eddie crushes. And I think there was only like once in out of the 4 games that I was ahead of him by like 4 points. I could tell he was not
I was
happy.
not happy.
He was not
I was
happy.
not having that. I'll tell you what, throwing that 15-pound ball for like 2 hours straight.
Yeah.
I was like that night, my shoulder, and next day my arm was feeling it.
I know.
Yeah.
It's weird because the 20-pound ball that I had,
Yeah, weird. Yeah.
like I don't feel it, but
I was noticing
Anyway.
your right arm's a lot bigger than your left, by the way.
straight up Popeye arm. We had a great time. You know, I drove into Flagstaff. I was supposed to, it was a very last minute thing. You know, we found out that it was like Monday or Tuesday, we found out that Mackenzie was put on crutches and it was Valentine's weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And our son and his girlfriend broke up just a couple days before Valentine's Day. We won't like go into the details. I mean, they're both so sweet. Very sweet, but like both of them are. It's like it was like really sad. But you know, they're kids and you know, the way they navigate stuff and you know, they're learning. But we really loved the girl that he was dating and so he was really sad. And so I told Eddie, I was like, we just need to go away and be together as a family and just love on our kids. Like, and so we got a house on Airbnb, just a couple miles from Mackenzie's school. And Isaiah had a lacrosse game on that Friday. Well, this massive storm rolled in on Thursday morning. And the plan was for me to drive to Flagstaff by myself. I had booked tickets for Eddie and Isaiah just to fly in like Saturday morning. Yeah. And I was going to have a full day with Mackenzie and just like be with her. And we were, you know, we planned to get nails and go shopping and, you know, do all the things. And so I packed up the whole car and I started driving. I think it was like 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening, and it was dumping sideways rain. I mean, the gutters were overflowing. You know, have the windshield wipers on at max and still like can't see. And to get out of Southern California and to kind of get over, you know, through the desert into, you know, crossing the Arizona state line, you have to, from where we are, you have to get on 4 major freeways. And it was rush hour traffic in a storm. And how do Southern Californian drivers do? And
yeah, that's what I was just going to say. That was a bad combo to start. 5 p.m.
Oh, yeah.
Southern California traffic, multiple freeways and a storm. It's
a Valentine's Day weekend.
Yeah.
I think that as the years go on, I feel like weekends are starting to start on Thursday night, you know, whether that's because people have casual day on Friday or a lot of people have late start on Friday or early out on Friday. It's just Friday is already a way more casual day. And I feel like the worst traffic is Thursday night now.
Yep.
And I thought, you know, I don't mind arriving at night because I wanted to be there early in the morning and take her out to breakfast and early morning coffee. And because, you know, normally she trains Friday morning, she doesn't. It was so bad. And I pulled up in the maps and, you know, maps tell you where all the hazards are and the accidents are now before you even start your drive. And they were everywhere, like on every single. The problem was we have not had rain in so long. And so as you put it, Ed, it's like that first rain mixed with the oil on the freeways, it makes the freeways really slick.
Yep.
And so you kind of want that to settle and wash away for a day. So I thought, okay, I'll leave like really in the morning. So then I ended up leaving the next morning. I actually turned around and came back home.
Yep.
And left at 4 a.m. and got to Mackenzie. It's so funny. Flagstaff is for half the year an hour ahead of us because they don't do daylight savings time. Mm-hmm. Can we just all not do daylight savings time? That would just be fantastic. Can we just cancel that? It makes no sense to me. But
it's so confusing.
So beginning in November, Mackenzie was an hour ahead of us. And then now when we I know we fell back. And then so spring, we'll spring forward and we'll be back on her time schedule again.
Back on time, yeah.
So I arrived and we had a wonderful day together. We went out to lunch. We actually sat at lunch for over 2 hours.
Nice.
You know that you're having a great conversation when you get to go and you're in conversation the entire time for 2 hours.
Just 2 hours
sitting in a
without
booth.
talking to Mackenzie for just hanging out with her.
Aw.
Is well worth the 2 hours.
Right?
I'm jealous. I'm very jealous.
Right?
Yes.
We loved it. Checked into the Airbnb. We went and got nails, shopping. I mean, it was just girls' day to the max.
Girls' day, just all day.
And we got like a pretty cool house. Like it was in the same neighborhood that we stayed in when she moved in.
Yeah.
We really loved that side of Flag.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like space in between the houses. And so there was like deer everywhere. But as I was making my way to Flag from California, actually, the snow started to fall.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like 18 miles outside of my destination, and 2 semi trucks within like not even 100 feet of each other. One was laying on its side in the middle divider, and the other one had kind of like fallen off down the embankment, but it wasn't a big embankment. It was probably like 10 feet.
Yeah.
And it was icy. And it brought me back to Bend. And now I say that Flagstaff, Arizona reminds me of Bend, Oregon in many ways. And the snow continued to fall. It was like a winter wonderland. It was so beautiful. We'll pop up some pictures here of that scene. But what a difference coming from Southern California, which has been, for the most part, pretty sunny. We've gotten a couple rain days here and there. That storm only lasted like 36 hours.
Yeah, it's quick.
I think this week it's going to, like, for the most part, it's going to be
70s.
back in the 70s. Here we are, middle of February, and it's sunny and mid 70s. And so to go into the winter wonderland, it just made me miss Bend so much. And the next morning when Mackenzie and I were going to breakfast, because she came and stayed at the Airbnb with us for a few days, which was really nice. But we were fishtailing on that ice. But I remembered what it was like living in Bend when everyone would drive like 12 miles an hour, because it's icy in the winter there, like icy. If you don't have, chains or spikes or winter tires or whatever, you're sliding all over the place.
Yeah.
And it was so funny because I was probably going like 20 miles an hour, and we started fishtailing. We went to the left, went to the right, and then back left, and the car started turning sideways. And Mackenzie, and I don't know what it was in me, but I felt like I was so calm, completely calm. And I just told her, I was like, we're totally fine. We're totally fine. I'm going to bring it back and bring it back. And that I'm saying that as we go right, left, right, left.
As you're out of control.
Yeah. But it's one of those things I felt like it was all in such slow motion. Sometimes when you're in moments of intensity, it's weird how if you just allow yourself to stay calm, it can actually feel like you're in slow motion. I almost feel like it's like a way that you're like you protect yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that's like really good practice. I remember this when we got in that car accident. I think it was either my first or second year going to UTMB. So it was like 2015 or 16.
Yeah.
And it was rush hour traffic, we're about to get off the freeway at LAX.
Yep.
And I was already late
Yep.
To check in. And the kids were in the back, and you were driving, and this huge semi just cut you off so hard. There was like nowhere. And then it was like cut you off, and then everyone on the freeway slammed on their brakes too.
Yeah.
So we went literally smashed like an accordion. The front of our car goes into this semi truck. And the same thing, I remember feeling this overwhelming sense of calmness. Like I was so calm in that moment. And to this day, the kids still say that. They're like, it was so weird how calm you were.
Yeah.
And I think that when we are in moments of intensity, we can remember this before, but when things are intense or really scary, there's no good or really like positive action that comes from us from screaming and freaking out.
Yeah.
It actually makes things worse.
Yep.
That's not to say that I haven't responded that way too, because when Isaiah broke his arm when he was 8 and he stood up from the playground, he wasn't crying at all. And his forearm was like a U. I mean, he held that thing up, and it was not in the right shape. And I remember I thought I was going to pass out. And the look on my face and the horror on my face is when he then started crying.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how our responses to things, especially as parents, can affect our kids so much. And so when Mackenzie and I were fishtailing right, left, right, turning sideways, and I stayed really calm, she was too. Like, we weren't screaming or yelling or, oh my gosh, like freaking out. I just said, we're going to be okay. And there's like traffic coming at us. Like the back of my car is now in oncoming traffic because I'm trying to like bring it back. But I think what saved us was driving so slow. I think we were in a 40 mile per hour speed zone, but I was like, this looks too familiar. I think I remember that. And had just come down from a hill too. So I was already trying to make sure we were getting that speed down. But we had a really good time just being together. And I think overall, like, you and I left thinking about how, when your kids are little, they need you for everything. They need you to get out of the crib and change their diaper and, to keep them hydrated and fueled. And you are their entire world. And it's been easy for us to miss that. Yeah. It starts to become so much, it's woven into your life to care for your children. It's woven into your life for them to be on your mind every other second, if not inside every second. But I think that was, as the kids have gotten older, even when Mackenzie was still living at home, but like you do start to see how their independence can sometimes cause a little ache. Yeah, for sure. And for all those days that you were so tired and overwhelmed and wish that they would be independent and could go to the bathroom by themselves, you then just kind of start to miss like that connectedness. And you and I are now in this season where we are really understanding that even though our kids are teenagers and they're very independent, both of them are, I love that they still feel comfortable and at peace just expressing how much they need us. Yeah. And, I thank you for that. Yeah, I do. I thank you for that.
Well, you're welcome.
For being such a good dad that our kids know that they can always rely on you and that when you're around, it's going to be a more peaceful, environment and they're going to feel loved. And I think that's what it was this past week. We went to the movies, we went bowling. And we just loved on the kids. They had the moments where they were sad. But, I don't think we ever stopped needing our parents, though. No. Even as adults. I remember, when Mackenzie was first born. Yeah. We're like, oh, this is why people move back home to be around their families. Help. Yeah. But that was a good for the soul weekend.
It was.
That was a wonderful, and I think I pretty much packed up every Valentine decoration here in our house.
You did, yep.
And brought it to the Airbnb.
No, which was very cool. It made it very felt like home.
Yep.
Yeah, it was.
I even brought
nice
blankets from home and lamps, so that Mackenzie would feel like she was at home.
Yeah. I thought we were moving to Flag when you were packing that car up.
But the car was so packed. And then when it was time to leave, you're like, oh, I didn't know you packed so much stuff.
It was a lot, but worth it. But very worth it. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, good times. It was always good to get out there and hug Mackenzie.
Yeah, that's the, I think overall, that's what fills our days.
Yep.
As parents is just being together. So not that I'm counting the fact that she's only got 11 weeks of school left but I am.
11 weeks sounds like a lot, but you know what? 11 weeks is going to be here in no time.
I told her, I was like,
summer with her.
I was like, sweetie, 11 more weekends.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Put it like that.
Yeah. She loves it there. She's having a wonderful time. Yeah. She still misses her friends here and misses the beach and sometimes just having her own bed. Yeah. Right. I think freshman year for most kids, it's such a massive year of transition.
Yeah. Big time.
And she went out of state and, all the while we also moved house. And so, yeah.
Yeah. A lot of change.
A lot of change. This episode is brought to you by 8 Sleep. Now let's talk about a game changer in the world of sleep technology. I especially love this one. 8 Sleep is a pod. It's a high-tech mattress cover that you can easily and quickly add to your existing bed. Now, this cover is packed with advanced technology that allows it to automatically cool, heat, and even elevate. Here's why this matters. The pod has been clinically proven to increase quality sleep by up to 1 hour each night. Are you kidding me? That's a massive boost to your recovery time, which can translate to better physical performance, improved cognitive function, and enhanced overall health. The pod uses precision temperature control to regulate your body's sleep cycles, and it can cool down to a chilly 55 Fahrenheit or warm up to 110 Fahrenheit. And it does this separately for each side of the bed. How cool is that? So this means that you and your partner can each have your ideal sleep temperature. The really cool part is, if that wasn't enough, the pod learns your sleep patterns over time and automatically adjusts the temperature throughout the night to optimize each phase of your sleep. Now, if you are ready to take your sleep and recovery to the next level, head over to www.8sleep.com/choose strong and use the code choose strong. That's CHOOSESTRONG to get $350 off your very own Pod 4 Ultra. Trust me, your body will thank you for this investment in better sleep. I'll tell you personally, I really, really love the temperature regulation. It's amazing, a game changer. Shipping to many countries worldwide. Again, go and check out the details. Link is also in the show notes.
All right, Sal, let's move on. And why don't you give us a quick summary of what we're going to be talking about today before we actually get into it. We have a fun topic to talk about. And why don't you just share really quick about just one sentence about what it's going to be like.
Well, it's more of a question.
It's a question.
What's holding you back?
What's holding you back? I like that.
What's holding you back? And as always, you can apply this to your running, what you are doing right now, listeners. You can apply this to those of you that are in the gym and you're looking around at the machines or those heavier dumbbells. I mean, think about it, Ed. When you walk into a weight room, you have these ideas about the dumbbells that you're going to grab. And most often we grab the dumbbells that we know we can lift.
Yep.
And when you are in a busy public area, you don't want to grab a dumbbell that you're not sure if you can lift. And I think we tend, and this is just a metaphor really, that's how we live our lives, unfortunately. That's how a lot of times we make decisions. We want to look good, we want to look strong, and we want to be sure that we can carry and lift and accomplish what we set out to do.
Yeah.
But the day that we become okay with failing, the day that we become okay with picking up that 40-pound dumbbell and kind of struggling a little bit, but maybe like giving it a try, that is when everything changes. That's when we realize that it really isn't that bad to fail or not be good at something. That is the entry point to achieving more. That is how you get stronger and how you achieve more than you ever dreamed. But for many of us, we tend to stay in the safe zone. And you know what? I like the safe zone. It feels good. You know, as someone that likes to get out of her comfort zone often, I'm not afraid to say that, like, I like to be safe and warm and comfortable and confident, and I want to look good. But there's also, now as a 45-year-old woman, I do understand when I look back on my life that some of the greatest things that I've been able to accomplish and do and achieve have been through that door of discomfort and uncertainty, doubt, and allowing myself to let go of all those things and say, what if?
Yeah. What if?
So What's holding you back?
Yeah, I like it. All right.
Listeners have to ask. I mean, Eddie, we want our listeners to
Right
think
now.
about that.
Yeah, we were saying, you guys that are listening or watching, what is holding you back?
You know, a lot of people have
Right
watched
now.
us on the Spotify. We've gotten a lot of feedback. So if you're on your bike or your treadmill right now, I'm waving at you, and I just want to say thank you for, sitting here at the table with Eddie and I. But this is a great question. I want you to write this with a washable marker on your mirror. I want you to write this on a sticky note. Put it on your dashboard in your car. Write it on a big white piece of printer paper and put it on the fridge. Ask your kids this question when they are feeling those insecurities and nervousness and anxieties, whether they are in elementary school, middle school, or high school, and just say what's holding you back. Eddie, what do you think the top reason? What are some of the top things? I know you have to get in the reviews here, but because I just want that to marinate a little bit, and then we'll move on.
Fear.
Yeah.
Fear of the unknown, fear of failure, fear of, limitations. Mm-hmm. That would be I think fear. Mm-hmm. What do you think?
Where does the fear come from? Is it someone else's fear or personal fear?
Personal. Yep.
So it's safe to say that many times we get in our own way.
I think so.
Yeah.
Just my opinion, but
yeah,
I think it's true.
Yeah.
My opinion. So take it as you want. But,
I love you.
What do you think?
Yeah, I mean,
what do you think the number one thing is? You can't say fear. What's holding people back?
I mean, there's a lot of synonyms to that and words that run very closely within that. I mean, I can say a lack of self-confidence and belief in knowing who you are. Mm-hmm. I think I have too many conversations with people who don't see their self-worth. Yeah. Who don't believe they're capable. Who think that the definition of being humble is smashing themselves into the ground, is putting themselves down. Friends, that's not humility. Yeah. Humility is not devaluing yourself. I don't know where that came from, but I think people are afraid of making statements like, I think I can achieve that. Mm-hmm. I believe I can do that. I think I am good enough to do that. I think I did put in the work. I think I am strong enough. I know I'm capable. I don't know why people have a way tougher time saying statements like that. Yeah. It's so much easier to say, well, I'm not that good. I'm not that fit. I'm not that fast. I'm not that smart or talented. I'm too old. I'm too young. We have a laundry list of negatives that we tell ourselves. We have a long conversations with ourselves. I know some people that go on these long runs and they spend half the time beating themselves up. I'm running too slow. I'm not good on hills. Why am I doing this race? I don't feel good. It's let's throw that bag of thoughts away. Let's put a pause on that. Let's change the record and put on the record of positivity and really the truth of who you are. And the truth is you are wonderful. You are strong. You are resilient. You are capable. And there is so much inside you that you don't even know that you are capable of doing. Mm-hmm. I think that's true for every human. You really don't know what you're capable of until you try it. Yeah. And I'm not talking like fairy tale stuff here. I'm not talking like, no, you really can grow wings out of your back. That's not when it comes down to things that we believe of ourselves, the things that we don't believe about ourselves are really simple and very common. And you want to ask people, where did you get that idea that you are not as valuable as the person sitting at the desk next to you? Where did that come from? Mm-hmm. Why are you not as valuable? Who told you that? Why do you believe that? We see this all over social media. People will make a whole post based on one comment that somebody said and then say that the entire society is like that, or everyone thinks this about me, or so many people have told me this. And that's not true. Mm-hmm. That is not true. We can take one negativity and blow it out of proportion. Or we tell ourselves that, wow, that one person said that to me, that's probably how everyone else thinks. And we can obsess over that. We can obsess so much about what other people think of us or what their opinions are or how they're going to treat us, or whether or not they're going to include us or approve us. And we can lose so much of ourself, time, years obsessing over assumptions and other people's opinions. And it's just, it's sad.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's so sad. And I speak from a place too, so much of what I speak about is also from experience, because, it was very easy for me, especially as a child and as growing up, just always thinking, I thought negative about everything in my life. And anytime things were good, because I was naturally and perpetually a happy kid. I was a very optimistic, happy kid. But as more and more bad stuff started to happen in my life, and the older I got, it was very easy for me to release what I knew to be true of myself and the blessings that were in my life at that time, and only just completely focus on all the negative and then lean into that. Because all these bad things happen, or because this person is treating me this way, or that person said that must be true for the rest of my life moving forward for all time. And your friend Sally McRae here is here to remind you that there are great things ahead for you. And I want to ask you, what is holding you back to believing that you are capable of achieving, of trying, of doing the things that you love, of your abilities? It's okay to not be the best at something right now, or to not even know about something right now. But when you take a chance to try and to learn, to figure it out, be okay with failing, it's amazing where it'll take you.
Boom.
So,
there it is.
Yeah. That's the main topic of the episode, maybe also the episode.
That might be the bulk of the episode right there.
Do you know, sometimes I just
Signing off.
I like to give the listeners just a big spoonful of encouragement, a big spoonful of real stuff to think about.
Yeah.
Okay. If you're going to tune in here, it's not just going to be about, fuel, hydration, and running socks. And there's a lot of podcasts you could go and listen to get some good running tips and stuff. I love talking about that stuff, but we always got to sprinkle it with some good stuff that you can take away. And so if there's one thing you're going to take away from this episode, it's I want you to sit with yourself and ask yourself, what is holding me back? There you go.
Boom. Love it.
This episode is brought to you by Lumen. Lumen is the world's first handheld metabolic coach. It's a device that measures your metabolism through your breath. And on the app, it lets you know if you're burning fat or carbs and gives you tailored guidance to improve your nutrition, workouts, sleep, and even stress. All you have to do is breathe into your Lumen first thing in the morning, and you'll know what's going on with your metabolism, whether you're burning mostly fats or carbs. Then Lumen gives you a personalized nutrition plan for that day based on your measurements. You can also breathe into it before and after workouts and meals, so you know exactly what's going on in your body in real time. And Lumen will give you tips to keep you on top of your health game. Now, one of the things that I really love about this is that it can also track your cycle as well as the onset of menopause and adjust your recommendations to keep your metabolism healthy through hormonal shifts. So if you want to take the next step in improving your health, go to lumen.me/Sally to get 15% off your Lumen. That is LUMEN.me/Sally for 15% off your purchase. Thank you, Lumen, for sponsoring this episode.
All right, Sal, I'm going to step in and I'm going to read kind of what I always do, a review, and then I have a couple highlights that I want to mention. Some true strong listeners having a strong mind, strong body, strong love. So
I want to say thank you to people that pause to do the reviews. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you guys.
It really means a lot to us.
It does.
I think we had brought this up a few weeks ago. We got invited to be able to stream video on Spotify. Mm-hmm. And we owe that to our listeners.
Yes.
Because we have high ratings, we have a lot of reviews. Our audience is growing every single month, and our subscribers are growing every single month. And so we really want to thank you for that. And for those of you that haven't been able to leave a review yet, either on Apple or Spotify, we would so appreciate a 5-star review. I'm just going to tell you, please give a 5-star review or a comment or whatever. It just, it does really mean a lot to us. So thank you.
Yeah. It's all right. So the Apple review that I'm going to read is from, STMBT.
What do you think that is?
Runner Girl.
It could be
So,
like Saint
Mount
Mountain Bike Trail Runner Girl.
I think it's Saint Mount Butter Runner. Mount Butter Runner Girl?
No.
Okay. Maybe I
think it's MBT.
Toast. MBT. Whatever it is, I'm going to read.
Look at us trying to decode it. We appreciate you.
I have a lot of fun trying to decipher
We've
what
done
these
that a
names
few times
mean.
on this show. So
They're the best.
Me up.
All right. Hers says, new favorite podcast. I'm a huge fan of Sally, and it's interesting. She left out and Eddie, but we'll move on.
Well, maybe it was copied wrong.
I think it must. There's like it's weird how Apple sometimes leaves stuff out like that. I'm a huge fan of Sally and Eddie, and have always enjoyed hearing her on other podcasts. Her and Eddie's relationship really makes this podcast. The advice that you get is so great, no matter whether you're an ultra runner, a fitness junkie, or just enjoy hearing about motivational stories. You know, I think she is onto something there. She's a huge fan of Sally, and so am I. You know, that's why we tune in. That's why I'm here, just to listen to you talk, Sal.
Yeah, you do, because you don't hear enough. You don't hear enough from me.
I don't hear enough from you all day. I want to sit with a headphone on, listening to your lovely voice for 2 hours straight in my ears. It's just the best part of my week.
I love it.
Let's just be honest. All right. So STMB Runner Girl, thank you for giving that very nice
I love it.
and kind review. All right, we're going to move on, Sal, to some of our Choose Strong listeners. Now, these Choose Strong listeners, they reply and they share stories in the Facebook group that we have. And they reply or they share in our Strava group. Maybe they sent an email or a message through the Instagram. So we like to pull some of these stories, or I like to pull some of these stories and share. Some are very motivational. Some are how the podcast has helped them. Some are, just ways that they're training and maybe races that they've accomplished. And others are maybe a serious thing that they're going through in their life. And so I'm going to read a couple. The first one is from Laura Owens. And Laura Owens posted in the Facebook group, she said, strong mind. I had to keep repeating choose strong. And my personal mantra, I got this because God got me during this cold and wet 50K. I'm not a fan of cold rain, but I've been wanting to do this race for the last couple of years. I focused and I made it to the finish line. Thanks to God and my running role model, Sally, for keeping me going. I just listened to the latest podcast and I'm hopeful for the future. And I'm going to try for my first 100 miles this year in April at the Country Mile in the mountains of South Carolina. I ran 2 100Ks last year, but was really wiped getting those final miles. I want to pace myself to make it through. The race allows 48 hours to complete 100 miles, so I feel that's my best chance since I'm not that fast. Well, and then she said, thanks everyone, especially Sally and Eddie, for this ultra encouraging podcast and community. And she's got some wonderful pictures of her at her race and a bonfire and some forest. And anyways, Laura, thanks for sharing. Yeah, there's like a big bonfire going on.
I love that. That's what I've always loved about ultras. Like there's bonfires at aid stations. You race in Europe, the UTMB. Yeah. I mean, there's literally people around bonfires cheering in the middle of the forest as you run by. It's so cool.
It was in the Tahoe last year, your Tahoe race, that one of the aid stations had a nice bonfire, and it was cool because I was just sitting there waiting for you and got to meet some Canadians that were crewing for their runner, and it was just a good time just sitting around a campfire and just kind of waiting and shooting the breeze and meeting some people. All right. So thank you, Laura, for posting that. If you haven't seen her post, go in the Facebook group and give her some love. All right. Next one's from Zachary Thompson in the Strava group. This is a little bit more of a serious tone, but he said this: training for a marathon PR, shooting for a 3:15. Been feeling off trying to keep up with the training for the past couple of weeks, almost as if it was morning, but I didn't know what. Saturday, I missed my alarm and I didn't have enough time to run before work. I figured I'd just get my run in that afternoon as it was a short day. I got off a little early and my wife was headed to her appointment with her midwife and asked if I wanted to meet her there, but also said it was fine if I didn't. I was really close to just going home, but her appointment was close to my work, and I figured what better way to spend the afternoon than hearing my 25-week little baby's heartbeat. During the appointment, the midwife had a difficult time finding the heartbeat, and this sent us to her ultrasound tech, who confirmed that our baby girl was no longer with us. I share this because, yes, life is hard, and we don't always get to choose the hard things that we go through, but when we choose to do hard things, it prepares us when the uncontrollable come our way. This was our second trimester loss. The first being 3 years ago, and what would have been our first son. We now have 4 beautiful daughters. So I'm stealing Sally and Eddie's line. Remember to choose strong in all that you do. And then Zachary posted a little picture of some little baby feet. Really, really sad. So, just one of those things where, he shared that in the Strava group, and a lot of people were saying some really, really nice things, but can't imagine what they're going through and dealing with that as their second loss. So, Zachary, we appreciate you sharing that with our community, and those of you that already responded. I'm sure Zachary, you're feeling the love from them, and we are thinking of you, man, and praying for you guys, you and your wife, and yeah. All right.
I wasn't expecting you to.
Sorry, I did. I tried to warn you a little bit and say it was more of a serious tone, but that's real life, right? And it's neat to have his perspective is pretty powerful, saying he's choosing strong and things that he's done in his life to train for hard things, have prepared for the hard things in life too. And it's pretty inspiring that he can write all that down and encourage other people amidst the things that he's going through, which is pretty rough. So
yeah, thank you so much for sharing that with all of us. It's been a wild last 12 months. There's been a few people who that we know that have experienced that, and it's just, it's hard to witness and hard to even know what to say. Very grateful for just that Strava group that you made, where he felt like that was a place that he could share it.
Yeah.
And all the people that sent kind and loving words.
Yeah.
Those little things mean so much.
Yep.
And wow.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to the next one. Next one we have is Heidi Thompson. She posted in the Facebook group: this was my first 50K and first ultra. During the race, I felt so strong and incredibly grateful for the guidance Sally provided in her training program. I'm also forever grateful for all the encouraging words pouring out through her podcast and book that I've listened to while running. To be strong is to be capable. I feel I'm better able to handle the pressures of life and definitely the training of another race. Thanks also to everyone in this group. I appreciate you sharing your own triumphs to help spread the wave of motivation and positivity. Keep them coming. And she has a couple pictures of her in her sweatshirt that her and her husband are wearing that are the same sweatshirt, and it's the name of the race, but I can't make it out. But looks like a 50K old. I can't read it. But
It's
anyways,
awesome.
Cool pictures.
So cool.
All right. Well done, Heidi. And the last one, we're going to move on to Jordan Gracie in the Choose Strong Strava group. He ran the Austin Half Marathon that just happened this past weekend.
Oh, yeah. And BPN was one of the bigger sponsors of that.
Yeah. He's actually got one of those BPN hats on.
Yeah, they're throwing those out and gels and everything. It was super cool.
Yeah. All right. So he said this. He said, I went into this untrained, not with a proper build. I got out of the car right after hearing Eddie talk about the 4-4-3-2 chunking mindset for a half marathon. Zero expectations for the day. And I ended up PRing with that mentality.
Oh, that is so cool. Are you serious?
Jordan, that's what I'm talking about. Jordan, me and you, dude. You take my advice. What happens? You PR. That is what I'm talking
Eddie,
about.
is that your foot?
That's my foot.
Oh.
Stop playing footsies. I'm trying to have a moment with Jordan right now, and you're trying to play footsies. So,
dude, that is amazing.
Yeah, he
I
went
love
and
hearing
PR'd
that.
That's pretty rad.
One of the 2 podcasts ago, it was Racing Untrained.
Yeah.
And
that was he's referring to that one.
Yeah.
Not
if
funny.
you haven't listened, listeners, if you haven't heard that episode yet, there is some really cool tactics that you can use if you do end up arriving at a start line not in the shape or after like not hitting all the workouts that you wanted to do in your buildup. There's so many things that you can still use that race for. So the fact that he then PR'd is amazing.
Dude, good for him.
Yeah.
Jordan. Well
numbers, guys, the psychology of numbers when you race is actually a wonderful way to keep you moving forward, and it flips your perception of the miles when you have to focus on them in a different way.
Yep.
And you did that so wonderfully, Ed. You actually had a really great race when I think your longest run was 6 miles.
Yeah. Well, hey, the moment is Jordan's right now. So Jordan, well
Jordan
done.
Gracie, we are so proud of you. Congratulations
Big
on
props, my man.
your personal best. That is so exciting. I really hope that fuels you in all your goals this year. Thank you for sharing that with us. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. One of the relationships that I am most proud of in my life is the relationship I have with Eddie James McCrae. And I'll tell you what, a common misconception about strong relationships is that they have to be easy to be right. You know, sometimes the best relationships happen when both people choose to put in the work to make them great. And I believe therapy can be a great place to work through the challenges you face in all of your relationships, whether with friends, work, your significant other, or anyone. In past experience, I have found that therapy is helpful for learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries. It empowers you to be the best version of yourself. It isn't just for those who've experienced major trauma or have major challenges in life. And if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Become your own soulmate, whether you're looking for one or not. Visit betterhelp.com/choosestrong today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/choosestrong.
All right, we are moving on to a wonderful segment called Sally Says.
Haven't I already said too much?
You have said a lot, but we are not done because you're going to say some more.
All right, we'll keep these short then.
Keep them short and sweet, Sal. I got a couple. I did compile a few. There were so many, but we did a little Instagram story asking for questions about anything really for Sally. Most of them were running, which I get, but I'm going to just pepper you a couple here. First one says, do you stretch before or after a run?
Primarily before a run, I always do mobility. After a run, it's rare. It's very rare. But I've also been like that my entire life. And I would say very lightly, very loosely, I'm going to say this, that
This is Sally Says. Go for it.
Unless you are prone with, like if you have like constant injuries or issues with like your running gait, running efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you're uncomfortable and you're running all the time, then that's definitely an area that you can evaluate. But I think that there's really good discussions around stretching and how some people need like a little bit more. Sometimes
Yeah.
it also has to do with like the type of run, whether it's a race, how long you have been a seasoned runner.
Yeah.
And then also age has a lot to do with that too.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say, I know you could chime in on this too, Eddie, but like when we were in college, it was like stretching was just because it was prescribed. You did
Yeah.
it. It wasn't because you rolled out of bed and you're like, oh, I need to stretch. Like it's once you hit like your 30s that you're like, oh, things are a little bit tighter. And then you hit your 40s and you're like, if I don't do mobility,
Yeah.
I'm not moving.
I'm not getting off the ground.
Yeah. So that's kind of how I've moved throughout I've been a competitive athlete for pretty much my entire life. And I think genetically I'm very flexible and I have really good range of motion in all my joints. And I still do. So stretching for me just looks a little bit different than there's some people that are just like always tight and aren't that flexible and like struggle with stuff. So, but I feel like we can all improve in this area. And so mobility before a run is monumental to me. And I think that's actually helped me, along with strength training has helped me stay pretty much injury free for most of my career. And then after a run, I'd say that, I typically train twice a day.
Mm-hmm.
So because my second workout is usually late afternoon or evening, I will go do that, hour and a half, 2.5 hour session. And then I can't remember the last time that I've stretched after a second session. And I think part of it is because I know that my morning session, it always involves at least 30 minutes of mobility.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the way that I program it. And that is, I have to share it that way because that's really specific to my lifestyle, which is not common. So if you are, once a day training and, you're able to train 3 to 5 days a week, I would definitely encourage mobility, some type of mobility routine before you get out to train. But I think anytime I've ever done one-on-one coaching with people, I've always said, if you can, take 5 minutes to stretch afterward, even if you're just foam rolling.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's also like, if it's not broken, you don't need to try and fix what isn't broken.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just what's worked for me.
There's nothing like a good stretch though, right?
I know it does. Like I love it.
Yeah.
And, I've always implemented like Pilates and yoga into my training schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And then usually that morning mobility stretch time that I do, I'm always like, oh, like I really needed this.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's not that I don't need it. I definitely need it. It just comes at a different cadence.
All right, next one. What is your favorite distance to run on a random training day?
It's usually a race distance. I always like to do what's a little bit past any race distance. So I love 14 miles, 14, 15 miles.
Yeah.
I love 27 to 30 miles. And those are like definitely consistent training.
Yeah.
For me, I don't know what it is. It just feels good. Like for me when I'm like, yeah, I did a half marathon today.
Yeah.
And then like 2 days later, I ran a marathon.
Yeah.
And then a day later, I do a half marathon again. I think it's just part of like the games that I play with myself that I have, that I personally have fun with. I don't think that's necessary, but yeah, I really love 30-mile mountain runs. It's like my jam.
Yeah.
If I can get to the mountains and put in 30 miles, I feel great. It builds up a lot of confidence in me. I think that you can train for 100-mile races with a couple handfuls of solid 30-mile runs, and be like really well prepared. So yeah, I love that.
Speaking of 100 miles, this next question says, I'm going to do a 100-miler. Do I have to have 100-mile weeks? And do steps in a day count as mileage?
That's a great question. So this is directly related to your goal. And So if you have a goal to get on the podium, and you have a speed goal, I would strongly suggest high mileage weeks, at least like a block of high mileage weeks. So that whether that's like six weeks of 100 plus mile running, or at least like building up to that. I don't think it has to be exactly 100. I know we get really obsessed with the 100-mile week, but some people do amazing with 80. I mean, 80-mile weeks is like, that's pretty high up there too. But the shorter answer to that is no. If you like, I know my body, if once I entered the 100-mile week zone, like fitness changes, confidence, like I'm just so much stronger once I get into 100-mile weeks, which I'm building up to right now. Everything changes, but there's a lot of other pieces that have to be attached to 100-mile weeks. And that's a really big focus on your recovery, on sleep, injury prevention. It's, you kind of run a risk when you have a lot of 100-mile weeks and you're not paying attention to those things. That's where like the injury sets in. That's where like the fatigue starts to set in. A lot of different variables that can really ultimately affect your race day. The other thing is I do feel like that if you can really figure out what your goal is for the race, that's typically the better way to schedule your week. Not be so obsessed with the 100-miler, but like the miles, but rather the time on feet. I feel like if you are a newbie or your main goal is like, I just want to finish strong, like I really want to finish strong, I want to feel good, I want to be prepared for this 100-mile race, I think that time on feet is monumental. And I actually used this strategy during my first round of training for the 200s. Mm-hmm. I didn't really focus so much on how many miles I was doing a week, even though I got into some pretty high miles, because it was multi-day. So that's just an example of focusing on what the goal is. Like for me, I couldn't imagine putting on a headlamp several times in a race. It was just so weird. And that became the most important part of my training was, can I move consistently day after day after day after day for like hours? And so I cared way more about the hours than I did how many miles I was getting in. So I would do like 20-pound weight vests, and I would speed walk along the ocean for like a mile and a half, for like an hour and a half, 2 hours. Mm-hmm. But that would be like my second training for the day. I didn't care how far I was going, but I just knew like today I need to get in 6 hours. On the weekend, I want to get in 8 hours. I mean, again, these are really specific to the 200. So I think as it pertains to the 100, try to focus more on your ability to move for long hours at a time, because that really is what it comes down to. People get to a 100-mile race and they are so obsessed with the miles begin to overwhelm them, instead of being able to break it down into, okay, for these first 6 hours, I'm going to do this. Okay, for the next 6 hours, I'm going to do this. And, you do that 4 times, you break your race out into 4 parts. I mean, that's a 24-hour 100-miler. But if you have a 30-hour 100-miler, I mean, you break that down into 7.2 hour blocks. And what can you do there? Well, you can have training days like that. You can have a really early training morning that starts like at 4:00 in the morning, where you're like, today I'm going to move for 6 hours. And, and you plan for those really long days, but just see what happens. I think people are really surprised when they go and do anything for 6 hours.
Yeah.
You then get home and you're like, oh my gosh, I have to do that for another 10, 15, 20, 25 hours. Mm-hmm. Wow. So it isn't so much the mileage. It's, can you keep eating and drinking? Like, how do your feet feel? How are you, how's your gear? What are the thoughts going through your mind? How are your hips? How are your back? Are you strong enough? And, so I wouldn't focus so much on the mileage as I would time on feet. It's so important to be able to move for long hours in the day.
Nice.
And do steps in a day count as mileage? I think so. I've seen this discussion go around on social media. People will talk about, just especially if they have active jobs. So I know you, Eddie, being a teacher, you always had high mileage high steps as a teacher.
Yeah.
You'd come home from work with well over 10,000 steps every single day, and you hadn't even gotten in your workout yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, again, that just goes back to just time on feet. So if you're used to being active, in your work, that definitely helps. So.
All right. There you have it, folks. Sally Says, another segment complete. If you want your question answered in the Sally Says segment, feel free to send a message through the Instagram or an email. And it doesn't have to be about running. It could be whatever
anything
you want.
I'm an open book.
Sally's an open book. She just said it.
Also, those answers were way too long.
They were very long. Yes, I was going to talk about that. But you know what? They were thorough, and people probably were very encouraged.
I'm a thorough person.
You are. What can we say? But Sally is a thorough person.
This episode is brought to you by Factor. This is one of my favorite products right now because this is a meal service that is delivered to your doorstep. And I have been eating these Factor meals for the past week, and they've really helped me out, especially on a busy day. In fact, I just had the garlic chicken and cauliflower rice this afternoon. It was delicious. It was a busy day in the office, and I was able to take a quick pause because these meals heat up in 2 minutes, and I got a great meal, knew exactly what was in it, and feeling fueled and ready for the rest of the day. Now, I have tried a lot of different food package services, and Factor is genuinely one of the best. There's 40 options across 8 dietary preferences on the menu each week. It's easy to pick meals tailored to your goals. You can choose from preferences like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, or Keto. But these Factor meals arrive fresh and they're fully prepared. So they're perfect for any active, busy lifestyle. So you don't have to put all the ingredients together. You just open up the package, pop it in the microwave, 2 minutes go. The other thing I really love, though, is that they have fresh, wholesome smoothies and juices, grab-and-go snacks, and all these other add-ons. So check it out. If you are looking to eat smarter this year and reach those nutrition goals, we are offering a really awesome discount for you. And you can get started at factormeals.com/factorpodcasts and use Factor Podcasts to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code FactorPodcast at factormeals.com/factorpodcasts to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box.
All right, let's move on, Sal, to the meat of this episode. And I'm going to let you kind of talk because...
Well, you and I got excited this past week about all the records
we did.
that have been broken on the track lately, which then led to the creation of the topic of this episide, which is what is holding you back.
Yeah.
So I thought maybe you, my darling, could kind of kick it off from there and just talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I'm so invested in the track and times and races that I've never been like that in my life. But because Mackenzie, this is her world, and that's, I love her and I love what she's into. And, that's all she talks about and talks to me, and not only thing, but she talks to me a lot about this stuff too. And so I try to keep up on it. And, so I kind of keep my finger on it a little bit and have a good pulse of what's going on. And these records that are insane on the track have recently been broken. And not only been broke, but I feel like from every age group, from young to pro, all these records are just getting shattered and broken. And I just feel it's very interesting to talk about how, some of these, like I know we're going to talk about this one that's it's been a 21 year-old record. And some of these records have been going for a long time, have been broken. And so I thought it'd be an interesting discussion to talk about why. Why is that happening? What's going on in our present day, track world, even marathon stuff. What's going on now that maybe 20 years ago wasn't happening, because now all these records are being broken. So I feel like it's just an interesting topic that lends itself to us personally and how we can mentally, be better and be stronger, and how mindset plays into this stuff. So we can talk about the first one that just happened the other day, which completely blew my mind, and I instantly texted Mackenzie about it. But the Norwegian Jakob Ingebrigtsen, I think that's how you say that, ran a 3:45:14 indoor mile. Now that is absolutely insane. So fast, because I'm trying to do 9-minute miles, right? And so when I see a guy can run a mile at 3:45, I'm like, how does that? How do you do that? How is that possible? Right. So,
what is an 8-minute mile on the track per lap? That comes down to 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Right?
Yeah.
So he would have lapped 8 minutes. That's a good pace. It's solid. You're locked in, right?
Yeah.
He would
I would think
lapped somebody running an 8-minute mile,
which is
more than
insane.
2 times.
Absolutely insane.
We're stoked to hit it. Yes, 8 minutes.
8-minute mile is stellar. Yeah, that's great. But a guy can run a 3:45 is insane. It really is. I mean, obviously we have a little bit more context because we can, we run and we kind of have an idea. But man, that is just flying.
How fast is that on the treadmill? What mile per hour? Because 12.0, for those of you that are running on the treadmill right now, not everyone's treadmill even goes.
They don't even go
fast.
that high, yeah. So 12 would be
12 is 5 minutes
it's
flat.
5, okay,
yeah. 14 I think is 4:17.
Okay.
And then I guess I can just Google it really quick, but think about your treadmill. If you have a treadmill or you're at the gym right now, just even put it at 12. And run at that for a minute.
Yeah.
5-minute pace. I mean, Mackenzie runs a sub 5. She's a 4:50 miler, which is it's crazy because most gym treadmills don't even go that fast.
Right.
And that's pretty solid to think what that feels like. What does that feel like?
Yeah. Well, if I'm running on a treadmill 6-minute pace, I feel like people should be like looking at me like, man, that guy, his legs are moving. Like that's 6 minutes. Like I feel like, okay, I'm flying. I feel like it. I feel like the pounding on the machine is loud enough for people to turn their heads. But that is like, this guy's running a 3:45, like 2+ minutes faster than that. It's like, come on, that's wild. That's insane. But yeah, did you find it?
So, treadmill, it doesn't even go past 13, but
okay,
12.9 on the treadmill is a 4:39 pace.
Jeez.
So this,
he went a whole minute faster than that.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So Sal, the guy, we were just talking about this, the guy that, I'm blanking on his name, that was the first to break 4 minutes. What was his name? Back in the day.
Oh, Bannister.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you said he was quoted saying that he thought he was going to die.
No, people told him that he would.
Or people said that he was going to die if he tries to go under 4 minutes, right?
Yeah.
And he finally did it. And then that same year, so many people...
Yeah, people followed suit that same year.
Did the same thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Here, I can read it to you right here. When Roger Bannister attempted to run a mile in under 4 minutes, many experts... Did you love that?
Experts
and medical professionals. So right away, let's just there's a lot of people that know about the body at this time.
They're the ones chiming in.
That are studying the body, that are educated, that have, they're respected, It's
Yeah.
like, this is someone that can help you
You're listening to these guys,
understand.
yeah.
Yeah. They believed it was physiologically impossible and that attempting to do so could result in death, essentially saying he would die if he ran sub 4. The perception was widely held before Bannister famously broke the 4-minute barrier on May 6th, 1954, proving them wrong. Not that long ago, Ed.
1954, yeah. I mean,
About
I'm not going to lie.
about 70.
I've sprinted and I felt like I was going to die a couple of times. But for those guys to say that and then for him to go and to prove them wrong, and then not only him, but like I can't remember what it was, but there were multiple people that same year that did it too, correct? That broke
Yes. Yeah.
proving these guys wrong.
Which is pretty cool because they call it the Roger Bannister effect. I mean, there's a lot of articles and discussions about this. I know that many of our listeners have heard this before. He's referred to so much. Most often people talk about Roger Bannister as it pertains to what we believe is true until somebody shows us that it's possible.
Yeah.
And he's just a great example of that,
Yeah.
that against all odds and really against professional advice, right? It's not like his friends were like, you're going to die. It's like, if your doctor tells you if you do this, you might die, Eddie.
Yeah.
It's hard to not lose a little bit of confidence in it and
Yeah,
to
chances
wonder.
are I'm not trying it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, so in a way, I think even outside of just being the first person to break the 4-minute mile, which by the way, it wasn't like he shattered it. It
Just
was
under it, yeah.
3:59.4.
Yeah.
And, but it's just, it really came down to and I guess that's where we came up with the topic, but it's like what he believed to be true.
Yeah.
What was worth it, and whether or not he was willing to try, despite the fact that people were telling him it wasn't possible. And so when we so courageously believe that I'm going to try, I'm going to be the first one to figure this out, or if I don't do this, I'm going to regret it for the rest of my life. At some point when he was lying in bed at night, he had to ask himself, is this worth dying for?
Yeah. That's crazy to think of.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
It's
nuts.
and we think about it now, we laugh, right?
Yeah.
Because of what we know. And I think that's a piece of it. When we seek to gain knowledge about anything, or we study or we try, it's like we gain confidence because of what we know. And we can laugh at our insecurities. When you think about the things that you're afraid of when you're a little kid, right?
Yeah.
There's monsters under your bed and there's monsters in the closet. And it's like, we laugh at that now, but when we were little kids, that's so true.
Yeah.
Like that fear is actually true. And, it sometimes makes you wet your bed at night because you don't want to get out of your bed and go to the bathroom because there's a monster in your bed. But, and that's such a childish example. But I think that as adults, it's easy still to carry those, to carry just fear into what it is that we're doing, and to these assumptions that, yeah, there's still a monster in the closet. It's like, but there isn't. It doesn't exist. Like no one ever said that. That never even happened. That was never there. Like where are you getting that fear from? And sometimes we get our fears based on somebody else coming up to us and saying, well, when I tried it,
Yeah.
and because it failed for them, because they didn't achieve it, or they had some bad luck, or they didn't go about it properly, they then think you shouldn't try it because I didn't achieve it. And that can be really tough, especially when it's coming from family, when it's coming from friends.
Yeah, people you respect or you look up to.
And so the fear, and that's why I asked you earlier, it's like sometimes we don't do stuff based off of other people's fears. So when people are injecting us with their fear, and I think that sometimes people are they're well-meaning. I mean, you think about us as parents, sometimes the things that I think about both of our kids, and I'll say to them and they laugh, Mom, stop worrying, or Mom, that's not going to happen, or that's so ridiculous. And most of the time they're right.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, as a mom, I do think of the possibilities, or I worry, or I have that fear. Well, now we bring that into basic things that we're working toward in our life. So whether that's I really want to complete a half marathon or a 100-mile race, asking yourself what is holding you back. In Bannister's situation, he had some pretty legit things that were holding him back. It wasn't just his own mind and I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if my legs can move that fast. I don't know if I'm strong enough. I don't know if I'm built to run in that sub 4. He had a lot of loud, very visible critics that were in his face telling him, you cannot do this.
Yeah.
And I think that's a whole other level of faith.
Yeah.
Of belief.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. Look what he did because he chose to figure it out for himself, because he actually really believed. No, I think that the human body is actually more capable than what we think it is.
Yeah.
I'm going to be the one to go test that.
Yeah.
I think that's fascinating to be known for that. I mean, look he's known forever for it.
Yeah. No, yeah.
Talk about
right.
a guy that set this record back in 1954.
Yep. Yeah.
So,
I just think it's crazy because here we are, 2025, talking about him and the possibility of him dying if he goes under 4. And yet now we have high school kids breaking 4. We were talking to Mackenzie's teammate, Clay, who's just a freshman on NAU's team.
God,
and
he's
he
so
just got
fast.
back from Boston. He said, oh man, yeah, I was trying to break 4. I got 4 minutes flat. It's like, he's just a freshman in college,
Yeah,
right?
he's
Like
18.
he's 18. And I mean, it's just like, so like, yeah, it's just crazy how much faster, people are now. But it's interesting too. Like you said, it's the mind, right? How powerful the mind is saying, no, I can do that. I'm not going to die. I'm going to prove them wrong. I'm going to prove everybody wrong. I'm going to go out and I feel like I can do it. But yeah, that's 345 mile is unbelievable.
It's pretty
Unbelievably
fascinating.
fast.
Well, I even more respect for Bannister because he did not have the technology, the training,
Yeah.
or even like the beautiful track that
Yeah, he
we see
ran on
these
dirt.
records. Yeah. Spikes were a little bit different.
Yeah.
Training was a little bit different. They didn't have like the science, the protocols, and I'm sure the progressive training plans looked a little bit different. I mean, everything was a test,
Yeah.
and I think it was within the 2.5 years that Bannister broke that. I think 10 more people did. I mean, it was 2.5 years. Only 10 people did it, and I think only one person did that in 1954. One other guy actually broke the but it was only like 6 weeks later.
Oh, in that broke the 4 minute.
The 4 minute,
Oh,
yeah.
I see.
Yeah. So in a span of 2.5 years, 10 people
10
did it,
people, okay.
but for so long it was believed it could never be done.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
Bannister did it. 6 weeks later, John Landy did it. And then between 1954 and 1956, it was like 10 or 11 people also broke it. But I think that's what we're seeing across the board in all sports. So yeah, Jakobs was just mind-blowing. But then we saw Grant Fisher set world records in both the 3,000, the 5,000. Sadie Engelhart, who is a fellow competitor of Mackenzie, has been since she was a little girl. Mackenzie's always has ran against her since she was like 8 or 9 years old.
Yeah.
She's one of the best distance. Well, actually, she's kind of like across the board, man. She's amazing in every distance, from 800 to the 3 mile. She's just crushing records. But she broke Mary Cain's record on the track in the high school mile. She's a senior this year. And that was incredible. She ran a
4:27.97.
Yes, 4:27.97. And then we saw University of Oregon, where Shalane Flanagan is the head coach. This was one of Mackenzie's top 3 picks. This would have been her teammate.
Yeah.
Cillian, I'm going to say Ayil Diz. She's from Turkey, I believe.
Yeah.
Incredible. I think she was a recruit. I think she got there last year, maybe. I mean, she's an amazing runner. She's so fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
But she got the college record for the indoor mile 4 days ago, running a 4:23.46, breaking Caitlin Tuohy's previous record of 4:24.26. I mean, you look at how close these times are too, right?
Yeah.
It's just fascinating. Grant Fisher set the world record for the 3,000 meter indoor in 7:22.91.
Nuts. That's nuts.
7:22.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Grant Fisher also broke the world record running the 5,000 meter indoor in 12:44.
Yep. And that was actually only a few days after he broke the 3,000.
Yeah.
Like a couple days later, got the world record of the 5,000.
Yeah, which was a 21-year-old record.
Yeah,
so that's pretty exciting when you break a long standing record.
Yeah. Well, the high school mile one was 12 years. And
Yeah, Mary
broke that
Cain's.
one, yeah.
Yeah, I remember Mary Cain when she was in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was a high school wonder.
Yeah.
Running so fast.
Yeah, it's just nuts how so many of these records are being broken right now.
Why is track so fun?
You know,
even people that don't run track, not into it.
Yeah.
It's is it just because you can see it right
I think
in
so.
front? I mean, I know we discussed this with ball sports the other day when we were talking about why is an ultra in the Olympics, but it's like when you can put people in an arena and you get to watch every second.
Yeah, and I think part of it is where everything is, each race typically besides, well, even the longer ones, they come down to like that last few seconds where everything's so tight and you don't know who's going to win until the very last second versus, you know, a sport where it's like, you know, a soccer game, you know, you're winning 4-0. It's like, okay, you know, this is great to watch, but there's something about that, like, you know, that sprint and everybody's sprinting at the same time and you don't know who's going to win at that last second. I think that's part of it. There's like that hype. I know talking to Mackenzie over the years, she always was asked like, well, what do you like better, cross country or track? And she always started leaning and gravitating towards the track because there's something about like the atmosphere and the camaraderie, the team, you know, aspect, and it's fun to watch. You look over here and you can see them run that part of the track, and then you look over there, you know, on the other side, like it's just all right there. So I think that's part of it too.
You know what would be so awesome is to see more track meets pop up that aren't for the pros. You know, they're not. It gives a lot of track meets now. They're invitationals, like the big ones that you see on TV, right?
Yeah.
And they're geared toward, you know, not just everyone can go and run in those.
Right.
I mean, there's even high school ones too. You have to be invited to a lot of those. But you don't see too many track meets anymore where you're getting huge crowds of adults that are like, I'm going to go try the mile. I'm going to go try the 800 or the 2 mile. And I know part of it is space and you can only have so many people on the track at a time.
Yeah.
But it would be really fun.
It'd be entertaining
to figure out a way where, you know, you could invite 500 people for a weekend.
Yeah.
And just throw down for fun, you know, and you break it up into age groups, you know, like maybe every like a age gap of like 2 to 3 years, you know, 40 to 43-year-olds or 20 to 23-year-olds, and just let people run around a track. Get some food trucks. I'm kind of feeling a Choose Strong track event.
You better have some in like a lot of medical tents because you just don't know what's going to happen after some of those races.
The amount of pulled hamstrings.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd do sprints.
A lot of ice.
There'd be no sprints allowed for that very reason. We're like, no, we are not doing the 1 and 2 and 400.
Yeah, I could just see.
Because even in the Olympics,
you know how when you get older and your like equilibrium's a little off, you're maybe a little heavier, you just like get a little top heavy.
Wait, are we turning now?
Boom, you just kind of
Dude, have you ever watched though the United States track and field when they do like the really big meets for all age groups?
Yeah.
And have you ever seen when they do the races for like 80 to 85-year-olds, 85 to 90?
I've seen them,
and
like on Instagram.
There's literally 100-year-olds that are still competing.
It's amazing.
It is the most inspiring. Yeah. I mean, it's like, what excuse do you have? Because she's 104 and still ripping around the track.
I think I saw one not too long ago. It was like this 75-year-old guy did some sprint and they showed his time. I'm like, I don't think I could beat him. I'm pretty sure he could beat me. I was impressed.
It's so impressive.
Yeah.
I love stuff like that.
I do too, yeah.
I mean, I don't think there's ever been a time I've showed up to like a 1 or a 200 that I'm like, wow.
Like at what age though do you have to say, okay, you know what? No hurdles. Like what are we where's the limit on that? Like, we're not going to go hurdles anymore. Like we're done. What age?
Well,
age is that?
okay. So this isn't like my opinion. I don't think it's, I believe that we can do so much more than we're already capable of doing. And I really do believe that we can do a lot more into our later years in life if we just allow ourselves to continue to commit to moving our body.
Yeah.
I think this idea that, oh, I'm in my 60s, my 70s, my 80s, my 90s, like I need to like slow down. Obviously the breakdown of our body, that's natural. Like every human, our body breaks down, we lose muscle mass, bone density, like that's just, we're going to get slower. We're not going to be as quick or agile or as mobile. But it's pretty amazing when you see people defy that.
Yeah.
Who just choose to like, I'm just going to see what's possible. And you see them deadlifting at 90 years old, you know, these heavy weights. And there's that bodybuilder at LA Fitness that we always talk about that can lift like gnarly heavy weight.
Super strong.
He's so strong, but he's old.
Yeah.
by every account. And he's so strong. But I think that it would just be really fascinating to continue to live life with that in mind. Like be okay with like, I'm going to get slower. I'm not going to be as strong. I'm not going to have that muscle tone and the skin's going to be saggy and, you know, not all the hair is going to be there, but like, man, what is possible? Like what are our bodies capable of doing?
Yeah.
And I remember when I signed up for my very first 100 and there was a guy on the start line that was 74 and I was still brand new to ultras. And in my mind, I'm just thinking like the 100 was so daunting to me. It was so extreme. And looking over and seeing this gentleman who I think actually was there for like his 11th time, he was the most inspiring one on the start line.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, he literally gave me the confidence. I was like, dude, if you can do it, I can too. Pretty sure he beat me too, because that's when I didn't realize I had a stress fracture in my leg, but so inspiring. That gentleman actually became my friend.
Yeah.
As everyone in our running community started to do, in my training group started to do Andrews Crest 100 for years and years in a row, and we would always see him out there. He was just amazing. Yeah. But it's like that's kind of like the Bannister effect, right? Like if he's doing it, why can't we do it?
Yeah.
If this guy's standing on the start line at 75 to do a 100-mile race and remind you, Andrews Crest 100 is one of the toughest hundreds.
Yeah.
You're at altitude the entire time. It's extreme heat, a ton of climbing and descending. It's a hard race. So inspirational. Yeah.
You know, as you were talking about kind of the older generation able to still compete. And, you know, I thought of LeBron James, and obviously he's 40 years old. And he's still one of the best in the NBA. And what?
You and Isaiah and LeBron James.
This has nothing to do with the GOAT conversation.
Okay, side note, just really quick though, because Isaiah and I, we always get, it's very playful. Like part of it is just me playing around with him, but we always get in this playful argument about LeBron James versus Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
And it's hilarious, but like, I always say stop glazing LeBron James. He always tries to put in LeBron James first, then I always try to put in like Kobe Bryant. So you bring it up right now. I'm like, guys, really?
Yeah, it's entertaining.
Isaiah's gonna love this.
Entertaining,
but no,
sure.
LeBron James is. I mean, he's an incredible athlete.
No, I think my point of bringing that up is that he is 40 years old and he is one of the best still in the NBA. Yeah, and he has a 40-year-old body with 20 plus years of high intensity, day in, day out NBA games,
which is hard. No matter what your recovery therapies are, that is hard.
Now, my question, I don't know the answer, but my question is, I know he has state of the art.
Yeah, he has like a hyperbaric in his
He
house,
has, and he's been very good and disciplined with what he eats and puts into his body, and his sleep is very important. And I know that those are the reasons why he's able to do what he's doing now, right? And I get that he's like this abnormal, beast of a basketball player with God-given talents and skills. But I'm wondering if someone else that had his recovery and the ability or the resources really to have those whatever, all at his at their disposal that he does. I'm wondering if there couldn't be more people like him playing in their 40s at that level, because they've taken care of their body and they've utilized, I guess, the tech and all the things that have been brought to attention these past few years and 10 years, 15 years about recovery and how we can recover so much quicker and faster. And but I guess that could be a question too of how much does tech play into all these records getting broken, right? Like why are these times getting so fast? Is it because of the tech and how it's improved over the years? I mean, I feel like it's got to be part of it, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is an ongoing discussion in the running community. I feel like this has been a pretty consistent topic across podcasts and the news, social media. And time and again, we see people point out super shoes are pretty super.
Yeah.
They've definitely helped people get a little bit faster. And I mean, 20 seconds is a big deal when you're trying to break 3 hours in the marathon or, break that 2:20 or the 2:10. It's that adds up. So that definitely helps. I think at the core of everything we do, technology or not, it always comes back to what you believe is possible.
Yeah.
I think our brain is the most powerful piece of quote unquote tech that we have.
Yeah.
And it's pretty amazing that it's at our disposal if we so choose it, in a positive, powerful way. I think that it's something that we are still learning about. I think we're still learning about the power of our minds.
Sure.
And our biggest enemy sometimes of our mind is ourself. It's sucking in all the negativity or being so deeply distracted or obsessed with what we're scrolling through. I think so often we actually do choose goals based on things that we don't even realize we're basing it on. And I know just a personal example of this is when I first got into ultras. The outfit that I chose was based on what I saw. That this is what people wear in ultras. What I wore in my first race was like, I would never wear that in a road marathon. I would never wear that training.
Yeah.
It was my first time ever wearing arm sleeves. I never even knew what those were. In fact, I made my own. I went to the dollar store and got these long tube socks and cut them off, and I made arm sleeves. I didn't know why everyone was wearing them, but I did. And I had on like this pink funky shirt, and the nutrition that I was taking in was because of something I saw online. I think there's positive and negative, so we can learn how to do things. But sometimes we want things to look and feel a certain way. We look at other people's experiences and we think, I want that experience so bad. I want that for me. And so I need to do everything that person is doing. I need to look like that person, and I have to make my schedule like that person. And I've done all that before.
Yeah.
And what I've learned is that is a great way to lose out on like big opportunity and setting bigger goals for ourselves and actually seeing that we're capable of something more, or actually genuinely doing what we really love, instead of doing what we think is just possible within the small parameters of someone else's square. So the growing technology, yes. When Theragun first came out, it was like, oh my gosh, you have to have the Theragun. You have to have the foam roller. You have to have the stems kit, or you need to have access to a plunge. cryotherapy, sauna. It's all these things have grown over the years. We just
Yeah.
see more and more and more and more therapies. And as the therapies come out, it's like, this is the one you
Yeah.
need. This is the one that's going to help you recover faster. This is the one that's going to increase your VO2 max. This is the one that's going to make you more of this and this and this and this. We could very easily spend 6 hours a day on our morning routine,
Yeah.
on our recovery therapies. We could easily spend thousands and thousands of dollars on the highest tech gear. And I think when you look at the world as a whole, and not so much just what's in your community. I remember having several conversations with Tim Tollefson about this. I'm like, it's so easy. We both have had kind of like the same duration in our professional career in ultra running. And we had this discussion. It was during the Mammoth, actually. We were working our way up to the top of the mountain. And I said, it's so easy to either get so sucked into the community that you're in that you actually forget how amazing it is that you're doing what you are doing. And because I think he was making mention of like not hitting a certain goal in this race. And Tim has a long list of accolades in the sport. He's a very well-accomplished runner. He's a phenomenal athlete.
Right.
And so we were talking about this one race and I was like, isn't that like so fascinating? I go, when you step out of like what you do, at your level, if you could just step out of yourself for like a few minutes and like even think of the world as a whole, what you do is insane. Like it's crazy. And then how you live in order to do what you do is incredibly unique. It's rare. Not a lot of people live the professional ultra marathon lifestyle.
Yeah.
On one hand, I feel like it's like such a luxury, you know, that to run in the mountains for a living and travel all over the world, the most beautiful places and run.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
When we take a look at what is available to people as a whole in the entire world, and then we look at what's available to us, just like even in our communities that pertains to, like I can go down the street and there's probably like within a 2-mile radius, there's several sports PTs, and there's several places where I could go to cold plunge and get infrared sauna, and I don't have to even get the actual Theragun anymore. There's like 50 renditions of it at Marshall's for $10, right?
Yeah.
Like everyone has their own version of that now. So yeah, there's a lot of things readily available to us. But what I really love is that we are still seeing people break massive barriers without all of those things.
Yeah.
That don't have, you know, the most perfect bed for sleeping and the most perfect training plan and coach and all these recovery modalities. I think that what is still the most powerful thing is that people open their eyes in the morning and they have this ability to dream a dream. And they have this ability to choose whether or not to try.
Yeah.
And when they believe and they work in such a way that they believe that it can come true, anything is possible.
Yep.
Super shoes or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I love that. I think when you look at the international racing scene, it's so true. And so and that's why I will always think, I think that our mind is the most prominent of all muscles that we have and all factors that we have, because at the end of the day, we're not even going to go for that dream in the first place. We're not even going to try that PR unless we first believe that it can be achieved.
Yep.
So there's no amount of gear that you can put on this table. If I don't believe in myself or that something is possible, you could bring all the artificial stuff that you want and all the tangibles. That's not going to get me out of the chair. Yeah. What gets me out of the chair is that I believe that it's possible.
Yep. So true. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a big shout out too for I'm taking it back to the roots there.
Bring it
just
back.
because you don't have the resources, or you might not be in a place right now where you have, you know, people around you that are speaking kindly to you or encouraging you or believe in you. You might not have that team of people. Remember that you you are capable and you are strong. And Eddie and I believe in you.
Yeah.
And it's amazing what we can accomplish if we just work at it every single day. We're going to accomplish so much more than how we never tried at all. And that's the Bannister effect. Because like I said, he had nothing that we have today.
That's true.
And he broke a record. So let's just keep doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's keep breaking those records.
Yep. I was going to say, like, every time I run a half marathon, if I can get under 2 hours, like, I'm pretty happy with myself. And I forgot to mention that the guy, don't know his name, but I guess I could look it up, but I don't feel like it right now. He just ran a 56-minute half marathon. First time ever under 57.
Wait, did we not put that in?
We didn't put that in there, but I just thought of it, and I'm like, you know what?
That's the one that sparked all of our conversation.
Yeah, I know. That was like maybe I think, you know what? That's my my next goal for
let's
my
think
next
about
half
56 minutes to run 13.1 miles. Right
I know.
Now. I think that's like a 4:17 or 4:20. I think it's like a 4:20.
Is it? Yeah.
Pace.
I just know
over and over and over.
13 times in a row.
Yeah. Beautiful.
It's wild.
That must have been so beautiful to watch.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's
the stride
impressive.
on those elites on the road.
Yeah.
It is just, they make it look so easy.
Oh, yeah.
They're like floating.
Love watching.
Well, we were in Flag. There's a massive community of professional and elite runners there. I mean, everywhere you look. And then on NAU campus, a lot of them come there to train on the track and just the little surrounding trails. And so every time we're there, we always see like elite clubs and just, professional runners. So we were actually walking into the bookstore when a couple pros, they had to be from like Kenya, I think.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
They glide.
They're just like floating on the ground. And we in our mind we're like, oh, they're probably going like 8:30 pace. No, they're probably going like 4-minute pace.
And they were like talking.
They're talking.
Like, it's easy.
Yeah. I love it. I remember when I ran Cocodona. I hit like part of the Cocodona Trail hits like a really popular route that a lot of the professionals, the elite like training clubs run on. Mm-hmm. And I remember a couple of them passing me and me just like laughing to myself because I was dragging a ripped up heel at that point and just like feeling so terrible. These people are just gliding like so beautifully past me.
Well, I remember coming down one of those roads to hit the aid station to come find you. And I remember this guy just ripping like up the road towards me. And I was like, is this guy in the Cocodona? Like, how did this guy get, this was like,
no pack.
200 miles in. He's just like flying. I'm like, whoa, like this guy, but come to find out it was, what's his name? Luis from.
Oh yeah. He's amazing.
Ecuador or whatever. He's the
amazing.
Pro. Yeah. Yeah. It's funny.
Yeah. The no hydration pack should have given it away.
That was,
yeah. Everyone looks and smells like death by mile 200.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
I don't know why you thought fresh face Louise flying at you at 4-minute pace. Yeah, I really love that when we go to Flag, seeing that. But I think overall the topic of this podcast was just really fueled by personal experience, but just knowing that we collectively share that it's easy for us to focus on, well, they have all that stuff. And so of course they're going to do great. And it's like, while technology and opportunities and club coaches and money do help us achieve more, we all have our own personal starting point where we can choose to achieve as much as possible. And we also don't know where that's going to lead us.
Yeah.
We also don't know, because I think in the trying, I know this from personal experience in my life, and I actually wrote about this in my book because there's a chapter in my book where I'm complaining to my mom that we never have money, and all my friends are on club teams, and my mom's trying. We have 7 people in this family. We can't afford $1,000 for you to be on a club team, and I knew that. I knew that as a kid, and I certainly don't speak from, I never felt like I don't ever feel like I was like genuinely like missing out, like this victim, I didn't feel like a victim, but I remember as a kid just being like mad that that's how it worked, because I believed that I was a good soccer player. So it wasn't like my belief wasn't, man, I could be a good soccer player if I had that. I was just mad that I couldn't be on the club team.
Yeah.
It's like I'm just as good, but I can't be with the other, talented players because I couldn't afford that fee. But here's the thing that I think that I learned in that time too was I kept showing up to practice and giving my best. And eventually the club coach in the local area was there to watch his athletes cheer on his athletes at our high school game. And he saw me and approached me and offered me what I had no idea was there. And that was a scholarship. He's like, yeah, we have scholarship. We'd love for you to play for us. I had never heard of that before. My parents didn't know about it either. But I think that sparked something in me at that young age. I was 14, 15 years old at the time. And that was, we don't know what's possible unless we try, unless we seek it out, unless we ask questions. So it isn't always have to do directly with, you don't know what's possible as what your immediate talent, your immediate pool of talent is, or what you can do in your power. But it's like, go and learn, go and talk to people, seek and find what is out there and what is possible for you. Because then when we ended up moving, so then we moved cities like a year and a half later, when we moved to the new city, I was like, I'm going to go and find another team to play for and see if I can get sponsored again. So I just knew that was the pathway. There was help for me if I went and looked for it. And, then it was the power of my mom always encouraged me to work. And she said, you can never, ever replace that. And I'm so grateful for that. I try to put that in a good way in my book. I've never felt sorry for myself that I worked as a kid, ever. I'm so grateful for it. The work ethic that has been instilled in me is, I wouldn't change that for anything.
Yeah.
It's so valuable. And I learned a lot, and I learned how to communicate with people and figure things out. But man, there was nothing like getting that first paycheck.
Sure.
And then you're like, wait a minute, I can go buy new soccer shoes. I can go and do this and this. And it's like, yeah, you just learn to build a life. You learn to work hard.
Yep.
And yeah, so that's the encouragement for our listeners today.
Yeah.
There's so much that we can choose to do, doing the best with what we have on any given day, and also doing our best to seek out what is possible, not just with your own physical body and what you can personally do now, but what is possible in the world around you. Make relationships with people, have conversations, do research, read, and find out what opportunities are there for you. Because I think there's a lot more out there than we actually think. And I believe that you, our listeners, are capable of a lot more than you might know right now.
Agreed 100%.
Ed, I know you want to read us a story.
I do. I just finished this book called The Power of Self-Discipline, No Excuses by Brian Tracy. And there was a little story in here that I thought was extremely fitting to our topic today that I'm sure will encourage a couple of you out there. So yeah, it's just a quick little story, but I wanted to read it. Says the title of the little story says, "You can start today." Some years ago, there was a 68-year-old woman living in a senior citizen's home who had never given much thought to physical exercise. She had worked hard, raised her family, become a grandmother, and was now living comfortably in a senior citizen's residence. One day, she saw a television special on jogging. During the special, they interviewed a couple of people in their 50s and 60s who were running marathons. Some of them had started running later in life. This 68-year-old woman decided that she wanted to run a marathon as well. So she drove down to a nearby store and bought the proper shoes for walking and running. That day, she began her exercise regimen by walking around the neighborhood where she lived. Over the next few weeks, she walked even greater distances. She bought books and sought advice on how to exercise and train her legs for running. And after 2 months, she began jogging a little as part of her walking routine. And after 6 months, she began running as part of her walking and jogging routine. And by the end of the first year, she had run a mini marathon in her local community. And by the time that she was 75, she had completed 10 marathons and 2 50-mile cross-country marathons. And the most remarkable thing was that she had never run before the age of 68. And then he goes on and says, so what's your excuse? I thought that was pretty amazing. Started at running at 68. She's in a convalescent home and sees this television special on jogging. Says, you know what? I want to try that. I've never done that before, but I want to do that. And so she was 68, and then by 75, she ran 10 marathons and 2 50-milers.
That's
pretty
amazing.
Incredible. That's pretty awesome.
I love that you shared that story.
Yeah. So going back to what you said at the very beginning, what's holding you back? Like, come on. If that 68-year-old lady is like, you know what, I'm going to start running. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to learn and try to go and learn as I go, and boom.
So for her, the decision was made just on any regular day, just watching TV.
Yeah. Just that special was popped up on the TV probably when she was in the convalescent home there, and
that gave her the idea.
Her. Yeah.
And that's not to say that running hadn't been all around her.
Right. Yeah.
That she had seen people in the park running at some point in her life, that, maybe watched a race on TV at some point.
Yeah.
Or had friends that were runners. I love stories like that because it really goes to show that we don't need this deep, powerful thing in order, to just make a decision. We just need to make the choice to try.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a lot of very inspiring stories. Max is a wonderful example of that, where it's like he hit rock bottom and knew there's nowhere else for me to go. I have to make a change, right? And soon after that, he found running. I mean, there's so many different facets of his story that are so fascinating. It's just, I love his story. I think we can kind of go on the extremes sometimes when we think of something that's hard or something that we want to try or that just sounds so unbelievable. It's easy to feel like there needs to be this earth-shattering reason to do it, or this pivotal time in our life. And I think a lot of things that we do, what was the turning point that then you decided to go back to school?
Yeah.
Why did you leave your career? Why did you move out of the country and pursue this dream? Sometimes there's really cool stories that go along with that. I love those. I live for those. I mean, we as humans, we are connected through our stories, and we're inspired by each other when we share our lives. That's where a lot of the inspiration comes in. That's where we learn. But I'm equally inspired by people who don't wait for the beginning of the month. They don't wait for, I'll do that on Monday.
Yeah.
They don't wait for the new year or for some intense moment or event in their life to try something new.
Yeah.
In this case, it was sitting down one day to watch TV and then made that decision there to go try and run, to go buy a pair of shoes and to work up so patiently too.
Yeah.
I love that. First it was just walking, a little walk run, and then, now
a little jog, and then
all the way to ultra marathons.
Yeah. Pretty awesome.
Yeah. Listeners, we really hope that you are encouraged by that story. And so the point that I'm just trying to make there is whatever you've been considering, that goal, let it be today that you try. It's very easy to allow ourselves to say, one day I'll try this, one day down the road, or when it's less busy, when I have more money, when I'm in a better place. And the truth is, no day is guaranteed to us. Tomorrow is not guaranteed, but today is what you have. And today is always a good day to try. So that's what Eddie and I want to leave you with today.
There it is.
Go ahead and close it up and ring it out and bring it home.
Bring it home. You can bring it home, Sal. Bring it home. Finish this up, huh?
All right, let's finish it up. Just giving a shout out to everyone that's still in movement. We're proud of you. So proud of you. I hope
So
that you've been
proud.
eating and drinking and all that good stuff. Listeners, we also want to encourage you to join the March Mobility Challenge. It's 31 days of mobility. Registration opens this weekend. The first day of the challenge starts on March 1st. We are giving away over $10,000 worth of prizes. If you are already in the app, you have direct access to the challenge beginning March 1st. But regardless if you are in the app, you still need to sign up to register for the actual challenge. Once you register for the challenge, you are entered into the pool for the prizes. So we have 4 grand prizes, 4 runner-up prizes. We have 8 prize packages, and we have a lot of incredible gifts that we're giving away. All of our sponsors came through, and then Eddie and I piled up on some more gifts on top of that. So keep up on our social media to see pictures of those prizes and what those are. But the 4 grand prizes equal out to about $2,000 each, and then a little over $500 each for the runner-up prizes. But it was really fun to put these prize packages together. A lot of things are like my favorite things. So we can't wait to share those with you. But the reason why I wanted to do a challenge with mobility is because one, yes, we're already into the new year, and this is actually a challenge that you can do with any training plan that you are currently doing. You don't need to be in a training plan right now to do this, because I believe that mobility is for everybody. It doesn't matter if you're training for a race or not. You will feel better head to toe when you just take a few minutes of out of your day to do these exercises. So it's head to toe mobility. It's 8 to 10 minutes each day. Of course, you can always choose to go longer, but I really wanted it to be something that was doable for everyone. And you can do it before your workout, after your workout. You can make it part of your night routine or waking up routine. You can get the kids to do it with you. But I'm very excited about this challenge because when you have better mobility, you feel better moving. You lessen your risk of injury. For runners, you just feel more efficient. Your running gait feels better. You just feel better running. And like I said earlier, mobility and strength training have been at the core of all of my training as I have navigated through my career. And so I'm really excited to share this challenge with you. Be on the lookout for the links to sign up. I know they'll be in the show notes here, but you can also sign up through my website, through Instagram. It'll be there, and we can't wait for you to join us. All else aside, listeners, we want you to think about the question we asked you at the beginning of this podcast, and that is, what is holding you back? And let that marinate in your mind for the rest of this week. Allow yourself just the grace and kindness to believe that you can start again, that you are strong enough, that you are capable, and genuinely, you don't know what's possible unless you try. And so we are rooting for you, and we hope that you keep choosing strong in all you do.